Hey, everybody, this is Jamie Gruber. I'm here with my partner, Benoit Malige. Say hi, Ben.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Okay, good, good, Ben. Thank you. This is the Multifamily and More meeting Minutes series. Try to get that one out, where we try to take questions from the various groups that we have across the country that are put in Facebook and answer at least a couple of them each week to provide whoever asked them and everybody else a little bit of value on that. And if we don't have the answer, we don't know the answer, we'll source and search and seek, or even bring on a guest maybe from time to time that can help us with that answer. So um, we have a couple questions tonight. One of them is a little bit like kind of, I don't know, bigger, and the other one's very specific. So you have a preference, Ben, in what order that we go?
Nope.
You're just like Mr. Whatever happens, happens. Go with the flow.
Exactly.
That's what Ben is. That's what Ben is. All right. So the first question we have is, I'm a new and very young investor with little to no capital to put down as a payment. How can I finance a deal and start by myself? Find investors. Please educate me. So, Ben, you got a new young investor, no money, looking to get into the deal, get into the game. Some people threw comments on this, which were pretty good. If you look in the Facebook group, this is from the Michigan group. But what say you, Mr. Benoit Malige?
He's had little to no money.
Little to no money.
Okay. So, I'm thinking lease to own would be an option. So you just essentially you write a contract with the owner, and you agree to pay rent, and that rent goes toward a down payment eventually. So, if you're looking at a property that's $100,000 and you need a 30% down payment, and the rent's $1,000 per month, you're gonna pay that rent for 30 months, and then if you get your financing in place, but that by that time you already have your down payment. Um, that's an option. There's also seller financing, I'm assuming. Uh, Everything's negotiable in real estate, so you could negotiate a no money down deal like that. And little money down, I would be thinking of something like FHA loans with 3% down. Keep in
Like a
mind,
house hack, right?
yeah. What do you mean house hack?
You buy a house to live in it with the FHA. So
Yeah,
that's your 3.5. You can put 3.5% down as long as you're a resident of the house. So you buy
yeah,
that house, you rent out rooms, or it's a duplex and you rent out the other
yeah.
half of it, especially if you're young. Rent everything. Just all you need is a bedroom. Rent everything else in that house out to somebody else.
Yeah,
Three and a
just
half
keep in
percent down.
mind. Yeah, keep in mind they have the PMI, so the private mortgage insurance. So you're going to be able to get into loans a little easier, but it's going to cost you a little more.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that because this person said little to no money down. So I just want to make sure that well, first of all, I'd rather have him have little to more than enough, because you don't want to be in a position where you just have enough to close the deal and then something happens and you don't have reserves. By the way, most of the banks are going to ask you for some sort of reserves, whether it be 3 or 6 months of mortgage payments in advance, insurance, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's true. But what about the second part? It's like, how do I find investors was a question for this same scenario. Young, not a lot of money. How do I find investors?
find investors. Being in the group is a good way, I guess.
Yeah.
Networking for sure. Networking, educating yourself, and showing people what you're passionate for, what your plan is, having a plan, and telling people about it.
No, I think those are all great points. On the investor piece, I always look at this as you either have money or time. Some rarely do you have both. Some people do, and that's probably the panacea, if you will. But if you don't have money, then you probably have time. So with time, or you could have time, with time, you need to give of yourself. So the question about how do I find investors implies gimme, right? How do I get? How do I get? And I
Oh, for
really
sure.
believe this business is all about how do I give, right? Like, so you put yourself out there, you provide value, whether it's you hear people say, oh, go get coffee for them or whatever, whether it's as simple as that or, working for somebody and helping them in their business that is an investor that eventually you can get to partner with you because they like, trust, and they like and trust you. And, that's how you get investors to me. It's about networking. It's about adding value to others. then you get. Add value, then you get. But yeah, we've got a couple of different things in the group, in this group, in the Multifamily More group that we can point you to as far as little to no money. So Airbnb is an option. And there's a great video with Mike Sjogren. I think it's episode 7 of our podcast on our YouTube channel. And we can drop that YouTube link in the notes here. But great episode of that where he talks about, I mean, systematizing. There were like 3 or 4 different, how to find cleaners, how to find or how to make sure there's no noise, or how to regulate noise in your Airbnb when you're remote too. I mean, just really cool systems that you can really dive into. But he also talks about how to acquire or manage Airbnb for no money down. There's an option that you could potentially dive into. Little money, I think of tax deeds is episode 1, Marcos Jacober, and this person is local to Detroit. The Detroit auction's coming up in early September, where you can buy property for pennies. I mean, $1,000, $2,000, you can acquire property essentially by buying the tax deed on it. So that's the strategy. And again, jump on our YouTube channel. You can watch the episode with Marcos Jacober, and he talks about that. And we'll have some information coming out about the tax deed auction in Michigan group sooner rather than later. Those were a couple of other thoughts I had as far as little to no money. But like you said, Ben, I think the other part of this is how are you accumulating money? So whether you make $5 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, what is your system for dispersing that money? You just stick it in your checking account and just kind of pay out? Or do you take a percentage and stick it into an investment account every month? So do you take 10 cents of every dollar and just stick it away so that you're building a little bit of money? You can easily set that up if you have a job, direct billing 10% right into this account that's just for investment. I think those are ways to get yourself started and show also these investors that you're going to network with and add value to that you're trying and you're working to try to raise your own capital. So those are my thoughts, Ben.
That was a very detailed follow-up.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Detailed. This guy. All right, Ben. This one's you, buddy, because I don't know the answer to this one like you do, because you are the expert of all things. I think it's only me on the screen, right? Yeah, there you go. Good. So, all right. The second question is, does anyone have an underwriting model or recommendation for one for office buildings?
We don't, just because we don't invest in office buildings. But I mean, I think ultimately a commercial loan is a commercial loan. What I mean by that is that the bank is going to use the same metrics to calculate the value. So we're still going to be talking about, NOI, debt coverage ratio, potential gross income, like vacancy rate, all that stuff. I think I'm not sure it's going to differ that much. It's just a couple of tweaks to do on any analyzing spreadsheet. So I would probably call a few brokers in your target market, and ones obviously who specialize in office buildings, and ask them to provide you with the underwriting guidelines for apartment buildings specifically. And I'm sure that you can kind of tweak any software that you would otherwise already be using and make the adjustments. Does that make sense?
It's a great point. I think you raise a solid point about, and I don't know this person's investment background, if they've already done all the education and network with brokers in the space and all of that. But typically I see this as kind of multifamily focused. I get this mixed use or office space opportunity. And it's like, well, it's kind of interesting. How do I analyze that? So you're kind of been here and now you're looking over there. What I would say is the same thing that you and I did, Ben, with multifamily. Is we met with a bunch of brokers, met with some banks, and talked about what the market dynamics are. What should we be looking at? What's the typical maintenance cost per unit in this market? And we got a sense of, with gas heat, without gas heat, how much we might expect, right? So you get a sense of what expenses would be, what cap rates are for different markets, what rents would be, or rent per square foot, I think is how it is in the office space world. Things like that. So I think it's just a matter of, you're right, networking with brokers and getting a sense of what they say the fundamentals are you need to look at, and then determining what those are based on your own analysis of a market. So it's a great point, Ben. Great point, Ben.
As always.
As as always, always, Ben makes a great point. Ben, that's all we got, buddy. That's it. Two this
Okay.
week. I think some pretty good info in there. I like the new investor question because I think there's a lot of folks out there, and I applaud
Yep.
young folks for jumping in at this point early in their lives versus somebody like me who got into it like well into my 30s. So it's good stuff, and yeah, I think that's the gist of it. Anything to add?
Who are we having on the next virtual meetup?
You know, you and I are like simpatico because before we left, I was going to just say, hey, this one's going to come out in advance of our virtual meetup on August 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern. So that is a Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Brandon Turner. You guys know him from Bigger Pockets. He's got the beard. Beardy Brandon, I think, is his handle on all of his social media accounts. But we're not going to be talking about like, wow, you're Brandon Turner. You got a beard. That's so cool. Tell me more. Everyone knows the story. But this dude is closing on a lot of trailer parks. They create or mobile home parks. They created a fund. They were traveling around the country when I bumped into them, and they were literally under contract on 3 or 4 different parks around the country. So really fascinating information I got from Ryan Murdoch, who's the guy that is investing with him and traveling with him on trailer parks and mobile home parks that I had no idea about. So we're gonna talk about that. We'll get into some other things, and there's a great contest. Anyone who subscribes to our YouTube channel between now and then, along with all of our existing subscribers, I'm going to choose two of you to jump on to the virtual meetup. So it's a Zoom webinar. You're going to pop up. We're going to see you. Brandon's going to see you. You're going to go face to face with Brandon, ask him a question, tell him how much you love him, whatever you want to do. But he's yours for a few minutes, and he'll answer your question directly. So I'll pull out of a hat a couple of names, and we'll go from there. So that's Brandon Turner, August 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern. Yours truly will be interviewing him on a Zoom webinar. Make sure you register. I already have like 35 registrants in like the day that I put this up, and there's only 100 spots. So as I fully market this, we're gonna fill up. So if you're watching this, make sure you register as well as RSVP. Make sure you register for the webinar. So that's my spiel, Ben.
Are we still capped at 100 members,
We
participants?
are we are capped at 100 members. I've been too cheap to buy the next level of Zoom, so I bought the whatever it is, $50 a month version, and don't feel like paying the $200 a month version just yet. But hey, if we get more and more people coming to this, then I'll gladly do it.
All right.
All right, all right.
Yep. That was it for me.
Cool. That's it for me as well, guys. Thank you. Have a great day, great evening, great morning, whenever you're watching this. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you supporting the group. Jump on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Whether or not you're picked or want to be picked, the more subscriptions we get, the better and better guests we can get, the better and better content we can deliver to you. Let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments, and I appreciate everybody being out there. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.